I'll be honest, he and his wife do not get along with me. It is hard to get along with a woman your husband left you for. She keeps trying to insert herself into my children's lives and act like their mom. She insists that she's mama and that they should refer to her as that. They have refused to call her that, which always ends with my ex calling me, frustrated that the children won't give her respect. Recently, she's been pointing out that my youngest looks darker than her siblings and has been suggesting that my youngest isn't my ex-husband's. I'm close with my former sister-in-law, ex's brother's wife, and she told me before my ex did that he wanted a paternity test and was planning to stop paying child support for her. She also said that my ex and his wife are once again having money issues. I had already suspected this since he had stopped taking the kids on his weekends because he was working overtime. Before people tell me to document this, I have everything documented. I refuse to answer calls from him, which forces him to either text or email me so that I can keep records of our conversations, as I don't trust him. After I found out about him wanting a paternity test, I told him that I wouldn't consent to it, and the only way he could get one was if he took me to court. He told me that it was clear our daughter wasn't his and argued that she didn't look like her siblings. He said he couldn't afford court and that I was holding his money hostage by forcing him to pay for a child who isn't his. He has apparently been complaining about me on Facebook, accusing me of cheating on him and forcing him to raise another man's child, claiming that I forced him to sign the birth certificate. I didn't, he wasn't even there, but as we were still married, I could put his name on it without him being present. I don't follow him, but one of his friends tried to confront me about it. I want my children to have a relationship with their dad, and I feel like this is hindering them. However, I also know there will be other issues he or his wife will take up in the future. Am I wrong for refusing to do a paternity test? Edit. To clarify, my ex wants me to pay for the paternity test because of his financial situation, which is why I told him to take it to court and get a court-mandated one. I know that if I were to pay for it, he would want another one, claiming that I tampered with it since I paid for it. He did the same when I had the house valued so I could give him half. He didn't like the first valuation and insisted on another. I know I haven't cheated on him, and she is his child. I know some didn't like me referring to her as my youngest. Both she and her brother don't like being referred to as twins, so I don't call them that. Since they were toddlers, they have been very independent from each other and want to be treated as such. She is not my only daughter, my eldest is also a girl. Update 1. I did not expect so many comments on my last post. After I vented about the paternity test situation, my ex-husband, we'll call him Jim, and his wife continued trying to get me to consent to and pay for the paternity test. I refused to pay because I know Jim. When the result isn't what he wants, he will accuse me of tampering with the results. When I kept saying no, they complained to anyone who would listen, claiming that I was forcing them to pay for a child that wasn't Jim's. For those who may not have read my last post, the child in question is my youngest daughter, who is a twin. Jim does not contest that her twin brother is his. Honestly, I didn't think he was that much of an idiot, but here we are. Jim kept complaining to his dad, who I'll call Mick, and brother about me, saying that I was being financially abusive by taking money from him for a child that wasn't his and refusing to pay for the paternity test. Now, Mick and I get along very well. He adores his grandchildren, and they adore him. I have never attempted to stop them from having a relationship, unlike Jim, who often tries to weaponize the children. I get along very well with Jim's family, and we are close. His sister-in-law, his brother's wife, and I are very close. She's the sister I never had. Mick asked if he were to pay for a paternity test, would I allow it to happen? Mick explained that he wasn't accusing me of anything but was fed up with seeing Jim and his wife drag me every chance they got. He understood why I was refusing and agreed with me. I agreed, but stated that Jim should choose the company that would conduct the paternity test, and I didn't want to know which one was chosen. That way, I wasn't involved. So, we had the paternity test. Mick paid for all 3 children to be tested, using the private company Jim chose and another private company recommended by Mick's lawyer. Mick explained that he did this so if Jim started arguing against the results, calling them fake, Mick would have another set to back them up. And what do you know, all 3 children are Jim's. Since we've gotten the results, Jim has tried arguing that they're wrong and that our youngest definitely isn't his. He has also been complaining about me on Facebook and is threatening to take me to court for fraud. The man couldn't afford to pay for a paternity test, so he definitely can't afford a lawyer to take me to court, but I'd like to see him try. Former sister-in-law has been screenshotting some of his comments and sending them to me, which we've been having a giggle over, especially since one of the things Jim has been whining about is finding out I've been dating a former friend of his. I say former because he, along with some others, was cut out by Jim's wife. Jim's upset because I am alienating him from the children by dating someone new. This is coming from the man who left me when I was pregnant for his now wife, who keeps trying to insist she is mama to my children. My children only met my boyfriend for the first time this weekend, after we had been dating for a year. Before people jump to Jim's defense and claim I am alienating him, I've never stopped him from seeing or communicating with the children. He's the one that decides when he's interested in being their dad. So yeah, unsurprisingly, my children are Jim's, and Jim's still an idiot. The children are happy as they're off to have a sleepover at their granddad's with their cousins, while I get to have wine and spend the evening catching up with my former sister-in-law. Jim and his wife are still mouthing off on social media, but I don't think anyone cares about what they have to say anymore.